I mean, this is digital localism. This is like, okay, well, we're not gonna develop these. My sense is that what we've lost by becoming very sprawled in our interaction, tight loops, this tight circularity, and it's really the loops that make things alive. It's like where things feed back on themselves in some way or another. And so when you have a smallish network, those cycles are going to emerge very rapidly. And on a very large network, they might be in there somewhere, but it's this kind of convoluted path, and you don't get that visceral sense of like closeness with the loops themselves. And like one of the reasons that I'm really adamant about like sort of economic localism is for reasons just like this. Imagine that I spend $100 on food. Now I either go to Walmart, do that, and the $100 goes somewhere, and sure, someone gets paid locally, they get a wage or whatever, but then the rest of that money is going on to the world, and it goes somewhere, and something happens, and maybe eventually it kind of comes back around, and I experience the impact of that. But contrast that with I go to my neighbor down the street who has a farm. I buy $100 worth of food from him, and then he takes that $100 and like fixes the front of his house or something. Now I immediately have an impact. Now I take a walk down the street, and his house looks better, and our neighborhood looks better. And there's this like positive externality thing happening where like my house is now worth more money because I paid that guy $100. So these kind of loops, this circularity, you have to keep the system size constrained to get that. Now you can have a larger meta system, but it has to be built up of these smaller systems that have some boundary around them that allow that circularity to emerge. So that was the thought you spurred in me when you said that. There's something else, but I lost it now.
I'm starting to feel very good about our choices here, because not only do we have the big network, then we break people up into their cohorts. So it's an entry network. Then we break people up into regional and local networks. And some of them are more popular. Like, for example, our Southeast room is just banging. Like 500 messages a day. People are literally moving from other areas of the LO into Southeast region, especially Central and Eastern Tennessee. They've set up a whole welcome package for people coming to Tennessee. They've got the local broker. They've got the beef broker. They've got the chicken broker. They've got guys that will come, LO members, all these guys that will come put up your fences and pens for you the day that you move in. Like, they've really, in Southeast, right? But, Northeast, not as active, right? It's fascinating to see. And so we're keeping people in small groups, and a little bit bigger, and then a little bit bigger. And then we cross-sect them by interest, by profession. So we've got the academics of the Liminal Order, we've got the military men of the Liminal Order, etc. So there's another part of their social graph there, and we have found that when we make sure people get into small groups, that their experience is better. The blurry picture is better, rather than dumping them into one spot with 700 guys where you just get completely lost. And I didn't know any of this shit when we started, okay? All I knew was that feminism bad, masculinity good. What are we going to do? Let's do it together. Blurry picture, dudes doing well together. And because I didn't sit around and wait to have all the perfect answers and we took action, we've now been able to evolve this into a thing that's highly functioning at this point. Highly functioning. Doors are open right now if you guys want to join. Liminal-order.com. And talking to you and learning your class and learning your information and then seeing this application all together is giving me much, it's a big boost. It's a lot of wind in my sails, because if what we're doing not only fits culturally and it has the outcome that we want, but then we're using these scientific concepts in order to facilitate the social and community outcome that we want, that's really remarkable. I feel an alignment that feels solid instead of wishy-washy or uncertain or weak.
Yeah, totally, man. Yeah, no, you are facilitating the generation of these natural, spontaneous patterns, and that's the idea. And my guess is, if you went and looked, why is the Southeast looking different than the Northeast? There's probably one or two people, if you went and kind of tracked the history of it, that really were like the spark plug, and then they acted like a nucleus and sort of nucleated this whole thing around. And that's not to say that they drove it, but that's like real leadership, right? It's not about telling everyone what to do exactly. It's about like setting the conditions for things to nucleate around you a bit. And probably there's something that could be I was going to say replicated, but I would almost that sounds too exact copy, but sort of lessons learned, I guarantee could be pulled out of the Southeast and applied to other regions and say, hey, look what worked here. Let's see what we can do to set those conditions elsewhere. And that's a beautiful thing. And you told me about the folks getting together and setting up pens and fences and stuff. And that's incredible, because that is real life. There's nothing that's more real life than that. Setting up the conditions to sustain yourself and your family in a literal sense. I mean, if you want a brotherhood for anything, that's it. So dude, kudos to you for allowing that to happen.
My goosebumps just came up because I want to tell you a quick story, and it's a beautiful thing, and it's one of the best stories in the LO, in that it encapsulates so many different things. And we've got 1,000 of these stories. Okay, we got a guy join us from Oregon, from Portland. And he had a family of 3. There were 5 of them in Portland. He hated living there, sicko, crazy Portland. And he's like, he joined the LO. He's like, guys, I got to get out of here. What should I do? Where should I go? What's a good place to live? Guys in the Southeast, they're like, come over to the Southeast, go to the Southeast. And because they had set up this energy with the gravitational pull, and I guess Central and Eastern Tennessee is pretty lit as it is. I'll be going there later this year. They decided to move to Tennessee. And again, they got a referral from a broker to buy the land. Then they got a referral from the cattle guy. They bought their cattle. They bought their chickens. And then all of the guys in the area were the ones that came to his house and in one day did the fencing and the penning. This is one story in the Liminal Order that has been facilitated by all these concepts we're talking about. And it seems so technical and nerdy to talk about the technology and the complexity and the parameters and the barriers and the rate of communication and the method of communication and the discoverability and da-da-da-da. It seems so nerdy to talk about all this stuff. But that blurry image really crystallized with this guy from Oregon and his family. And the part at the end of the story that made it so great is not only he's starting a new business because he had to move. He started a new business, picked up some customers from inside the LO, got enough of a runway from guys inside the LO that when he had another client exhibiting wokeism on him, asking questions about his company, are you woke? Do you do this? What about diversity? What about that? He was able to say, you know what? I don't want your business. I don't want your business.
Powerful to be able to say no, man. That's power. That's power.
That is power. And that power to say no, that sovereignty to say no, came from his participation in this network and all these guys contributing and his commitment to his own sovereignty and his food sovereignty and having food growing on his land and his own water and moving his family out of a bad place and into a place that has such power for him. I'm looking at Joe, looking at me very pensively. He wasn't moving. Are you back?
Yeah. I was starting to glitch out there a bit.
It glitched out for a second.
I wasn't sure if it was going down.
Seems no, like we're here. We're here. So one thing you said that was really powerful that I'm going to is emphasizing leadership. We've done that too. We've put 50 people through a specialized training program on leadership in order to facilitate this kind of thing. And you're right. I'm going to look in. I know that there was a handful of guys in this spot and a handful of guys in that cohort and a handful of guys in this cohort that really make it happen. So how am I going to make more of those guys happen? That's a really good piece for me to focus on. All right. That's a lot of specific talk about the LO, but the reason why I wanted to talk about it was to show a real world application in the soft world, a human world of not very many clearly defined answers, that this sort of scientific approach can be applied. And really all of our culture and mythology and legend and stories and cliches and old sayings and wives' tales and whatever, they were all part of the same concept, which is trying to breadcrumbs for everybody on how to get to that food that we are already found. My mind's a little blown.
And that itself, those myths themselves evolve as well, right? Like the breadcrumbs for brotherhood, that's one that's a sticky, that's nice. Other ones you might try and it doesn't really work and you let it go.
Totally. That one stuck. Alliteration. Democrat to deplorable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So,
Shit.
yeah, you would love that. Joe, man, thank you so much for your time, dude. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
We've covered so many subjects. We didn't even get to the slamming of libertarianism, which I was hoping we might get to. Another day, another day. Congratulations on being a man of action, putting your money where your mouth is, doing the thing that you believe. Embodiment. You are embodying your values, Joe, and I respect you a tremendous amount for that. And being able to embody your values in this world is basically the ultimate goal. We're restricted in so many ways from even identifying your values, being able to foster them, being able to think about acting on, or even knowing that you can act on them, and then actually acting on them, and then actually succeeding at it. That is like, man, hats off to you, dude. I respect that a lot. You're a true leader in that regard, and I hope more people will get turned on to you and your content and your message because of this conversation, Joe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my friend. Wow, that was quite a. I'm blushing. So I really appreciate that, man. Likewise, right back at you. I got nothing but respect for you, man. Thanks so much.